March 5th, 2024 Daily Bread. Passage John chapter 6, verse 16 to 29. Key verse 29. Title, The Work of God. When evening came, his disciples went down to the lake, where they got into a boat and set off across the lake for Capernaum. By now it was dark, and Jesus had not yet joined them. A strong wind was blowing, and the waters grew rough. When they had rowed about 3 or 4 miles, they saw Jesus approaching the boat, walking on the water, and they were frightened. But he said to them, "It is I. Don't be afraid." Then they were willing to take him into the boat, and immediately the boat reached the shore where they were heading. The next day, the crowd that had stayed on the opposite shore of the lake realized that only one boat had been there, and that Jesus had not entered it with his disciples, but that they had gone away alone. Then some boats from Tiberias landed near the place where the people had eaten the bread after the Lord had given thanks. Once the crowd realized that neither Jesus nor his disciples were there, they got into the boats and went to Capernaum in search of Jesus. When they found him on the other side of the lake, they asked him, "Rabbi, when did you get here?" Jesus answered, "Very truly I tell you, you are looking for me not because you saw the signs I performed, but because you ate the loaves and had your fill. Do not work for food that spoils, but for food that endures to eternal life, which the Son of Man will give you. For on him God the Father has placed his seal of approval." Then they asked him, "What must we do to do the works God requires?" Jesus answered, "The work of God is this, to believe in the one he has sent." Bread message. The disciples got into the boat and set off across the Lake of Galilee. About halfway, the night lake became rough with strong wind. They then saw Jesus coming to them, walking on the water. Jesus is the sovereign Lord over nature. He came to help them. When the disciples recognized him and took him into the boat arrived at their destination immediately. Those who receive Jesus into their lives have the deliverance and nothing to fear. Jesus keeps an eye on us and is always with us. The crowds come to Jesus not because they were interested in knowing who Jesus was, but because they wanted to get free bread from Jesus. But Jesus did not come to fulfill the desires of his followers. He came to help them to believe in the Son and have eternal life. He urges them not to work for food that spoils, but for food that endures to eternal life. How do we work for food that endures to eternal life? Jesus says, "The work of God is this, to believe in the one he has sent." The work of God is to have faith in Jesus, whom God sent to give eternal life to all who come to him. Having faith in Jesus is the very work of God. Prayer. Lord, I believe in Jesus, who alone gives eternal life. Help me trust in Jesus for the food that leads to eternal life. One word, believe in Jesus.